my question. At what point do we as citizens have the right to turn around and say, we have no more confidence in you guys whatsoever, you're all fired?
Well, if we were British, we would actually have that ability.
Yeah,
you would vote of no confidence in their parliament, but we don't have that shit, as you have explained to us before.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's my point. I mean, there needs to be some stuff brought back in, but
oh my God,
that's like the the really weird long Facebook text that I kept sending you this afternoon. It's the game, right?
Yeah. In fact, I had to read that so fast because it was so big and I was at work, so I just skimmed it. But why don't you summarize that weird ass Facebook text?
Oh, I gotta pull it up. I don't even remember it. I was a little bit hungover from last night when I wrote that, so yeah, I mean, it was just, it's the oldest con that there is, right?
We were talking about the cycles and how every few generations, you said something like another canary is born, and they speak up and they point at stuff and everyone pays attention to it for a minute, and then they end up get killed, and then everything goes back to the deep dark normal, right?
Well, exactly. I'm trying to pull it up. The laptop's not being very cooperative. I'm having technical issues. Bear with me. Oh, yeah, let's highlight everything. That didn't work well at all.
This is what Jesse sent me when he was a little bit hungover this afternoon. And for all records to show, he was responding to me telling him I was listening to conspiracy theories while I was at work.
Okay, so we'll start with the last one. It was, there's no denying that if the Illuminati exists, it is in banking, religion, and or war profiteering. So I write, it's the oldest con in the world, started with religion, but then the learned peoples led the rest of the sheeple out of the dark ages and into science. Then they changed the name of the game to government, politics, racial divide. It's all a means to an end. Control what we think, what we feel, and what we believe. Set up the system, either religion or kingdoms or wealth, a few to hold power over the masses. I stand with the alien-shaped bears. My friends, they are here to free mankind from the system and the game. They changed slavery to the middle class to minimum wage lives. They amass total wealth only because we, the people, say those numbers have value. But when the great Eurus arrive on the galactic party bus, the billionaires of the world shall feel their leathery, warm embrace the hardest. And I still get nightmares from the fucking bears. There are 2 human canaries born every generation to warn the sheeple, but it's like a feedback loop that's gone on too long, where we were warned in a book called 1984 that Big Brother was coming to watch, and the sheeple bred and got dumber and dumber. So instead of fearing Big Brother, we now treat Big Brother if he was on Pornhub, and now we fear that no one will watch us. As I sit here and write this crazy ass rant, I can hear in the distance the A-10s from the airbase miles away shooting at the range. They play their silly war games and yet have no enemy to fight. Terrorists have no armor or air force. Can't use military might against imaginary enemies. But those in power like buying our mercs, the best and the greatest toys of destruction. So the game plays on, sheeple love the game. So, I mean, that's pretty much my entire mindset for the last 2 months now. I mean, you see the same thing again and again and again and again, over and over and over. Nothing changes.
You know what I can equate it to? And I think more people are aware of the cycle constantly coming through than even let on. And I think you can equate it to kind of, if anyone has ever had an annoying trait, and whoever raised you, they did something. Like, I don't know if it's licking their thumb to wipe something off your face, or maybe every time they saw you, they'd pinch your cheek and tell everyone nearby how fat you used to be. Or maybe they constantly send you things in the mail that like you don't need, or they constantly call you just to say hello, and it annoys you, right? Well, as soon as that stops, you get this feeling of missing it, because even though it annoyed you, it was consistent. And consistency is sometimes, I think, a little more important to our brains than constant positivity. And that can also explain why you get like Stockholm syndrome, why you have battered persons that stick with their abusers, because it's consistent and it's like a pattern that they get comfortable within. And that's a real sick fucking thing to think about. But honestly, if you read transcripts from people from abuse, that's exactly what they go into. So I guess what I'm getting at is everybody knows that sometimes this shit's futile, but we still keep doing it anyway because we kind of like the consistency.
It's like subconsciously we like war.
Well, if you're only abused or you're only treated badly. That's all you know. 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 Merry Christmas, motherfuckers.